welcome to A Dash of Salt, where two salty women sprinkle a little of flavor into your everyday journey. So I am Sharon Malway, one of your co-hosts and salty companions. I am a native Texan with a knack for baking up big dreams.
Well, I'm Stacy McCracken. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm a Midwestern girl. I grew up in the Midwest and in a little town called Peru, Indiana. My husband would tell you it's right next to Mexico, which is actually really true. But now I live in Austin, Texas. I've lived there for a very long time, so it's home to me.
All right, and together we are going to infuse a little saltiness into your world.
Absolutely. Sit back and relax and enjoy the next episode of A Dash of Salt. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for checking us out. If you've been listening, welcome back. We are glad to have you with us.
All right. So, Stacy, what is our weekly spark that we have to inspire us today?
Well, we are actually, I think, talking about travel today.
Yes.
And midlife adventures and all of those things. And you and I have traveled actually all around the world together. We have been super fortunate that we have been in places like Vietnam together and
Europe.
We've just really been able to travel. And so I love travel. And I love travel because I think that seeing people from other cultures in their culture and just being humbled by not being able to speak the language is huge. And so actually I brought a quote.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
quotes.
I do. I love quotes. And this one is by Mark Twain, but it is so appropriate based on how I feel about travel. It says, travel is fatal to the prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one's little corner of the earth all of one's lifetime.
That's right.
I realize it's kind of heavy, right? It kind of puts it out there, right? That, travel really forces you to overcome those things.
Yes.
And I think the whole point of this quote, right, is about if you want to be generous about people who are different from you and understand people who are different from you, then, you need to go meet them. You need to get to know them. And if you hide in your house, if you hide in your little community, it's much easier to be prejudiced and to not understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, I realize that's a little heavy for our pinch of playfulness, but I actually feel really strongly about that.
It is. And so I completely agree with you in the fact that, I am a native Texan. I do think Texas is, God's gift to all of us, but I can't imagine spending the rest of my life holed up here in my, small little town in Texas and not venturing out and exploring the world. Yep. So it does bring a new perspective to each one of us.
Absolutely.
The more we travel. So yes. So as today's spotlight is a topic both you and I love dearly, which is travel. And as you said, we have both been lucky enough to travel, have a lot of adventures, both professionally as well as personal trips as well. So today I wanted to talk about how travel changes as we get older or the later stages of our life. I realized it changes. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that. And of course, I'm sure, people at our stage of life, it is top topic. Edward Jones says travel is in the top 3 things to do in retirement. So I'm sure that comes as no surprise to that it is in the top 3. But I did want to talk about what I did find is surprising is that how life traveling at this stage of life is different. So I wanted to talk about this. So there was a recent article in the Wall Street Journal that talked about the trial and errors of retirement travel. So I wanted to bring a couple of those points today in our conversation. So the first change I've noticed is the difference of opinions. So I don't know if this has happened to you and your spouse, but when we traveled as a family, I was the primary driver of our trips. I planned them. Of course, that comes no surprise to anybody, but we were always in sync about where we wanted to go as a family, what locations we should go, what activities we should go do while we were there. But now when it's just my spouse and myself, we don't always want to go to the same location or have the same interest in what we do at that location. I have found that to be challenging. How about you?
That's super funny. I hadn't thought about that a lot, but it's true, right? So when the kids were home, I think I pretty much do the vacation planning.
Yeah.
And so because I want to have a plan when we get there, and with kids, you've got to have a plan. And so, but with my husband and I know the things I like to do, and I also know the things he likes to do. And so even though while I'm driving the planning, I find that I go, okay, he would not enjoy 5 days of cooking class and food tours.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
And like maybe a wine tasting every day.
Right.
Right? Like that's not him. So he wants to go hiking. He wants to go, bike riding. He wants to go do other stuff. And so we recently went to Portugal. I had to go for work, and then he came and joined me. And so I planned kind of every other day, or the morning was an activity that I knew I loved, but the afternoon was an activity that I knew he would love.
Yeah.
And so I tried to balance it out.
Yes.
Because it isn't all about me, even though I was doing a majority of the research.
Yes. So we've had some of those same differences. So my husband is very much into riding a bicycle. And so he just wants to spend his vacation in a new place where he can go ride his bike. But like you, I enjoy cooking classes. I enjoy hiking. And so some of those places to go explore food doesn't, maybe in the city, which is not advantageous to riding your bicycle along the mountains. So we have been challenging back and forth and trying to decide where we should be taking our vacations. And then, I have to have a little first world problem in there. My husband's been a consultant, so we've had a lot of hotel points, which have granted us very lovely stays in nice hotel resorts. But now as we retire, or as we, later in life, we don't travel as much, especially after the pandemic. So now we're staying at Airbnbs and, VRBOs, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have different taste in where, what Airbnb we should stay at,
like what the amenities are,
or
what it should have.
So we've had a little trial and error over this, but I'd say this last trip we took this summer, my husband picked out a gorgeous apartment, very fresh, modern, clean, great location, right in the city, downtown city center of the location. Small problem, it was on the 5th floor of the building with no elevator. So there were 178 steps up and down to this location, including carrying bags up the flight.
Oh my gosh.
It was an adventure, but yes. Oh, anyway. So I, like you, have found that, as we're planning trips, a good balance has been a good solution for us. So we talk about our priorities, what places we want to go to. And so for now, we have a cadence of alternating where we go on our vacations.
Okay.
So this summer was all about being in Spain, where my husband was enjoying riding his bike. So I definitely will pinpoint the next trip on where we get to go.
Maybe Portugal. So Portugal, I was in Portugal this summer.
Yeah.
And Portugal has a great blend of mountains for biking. So lots of folks go there to train.
Yes, exactly.
And there's also a really good foodie environment there. And so that could be a great sort of blend.
To our list.
It could be a great blend of both.
Yes. So that is, so if you as a listener have a good suggestion for me where I can blend riding bikes and food, please send your suggestions my way as well. Yeah, and then I had another situation. I actually had the opportunity to travel with one of my adult children this summer, and I was
She went to see Taylor Swift. Let's just put it out there for you guys.
yes, it was a bucket list location in Ireland, so we had a lot of fun. But I was challenged because I'm thinking my child is as excited as I am to go on this trip, which they were. But I define my excitement like let's call, let's chat, let's plan the trip together. And well, let's just say adult children are busy these days. They don't necessarily want to dive into those level of details. So instead of getting upset about the particular location, I decided, you know what? This is a bucket list item trip for me. I'm going to plan the trip that I want to do. And you know what? It turned out to be one of my most favorite trips that I've ever gone on. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
I love Ireland.
it is beautiful. I do recommend everybody should go there and get outside of Dublin. We had a magnificent picnic on a beach on a cliff on the south side of the island, and it was definitely top 5 travel moments.
Yeah. Yep. And so I agree. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's dinner. So anyway, point number 1 is about balance as you navigate new travel opportunities. Point number 2 is overpacking. I don't know about you, Stacy, but I have all my life been an overpacker.
I am an overpacker too, and it's because of contingency planning.
Yes, you want to not plan, fail to plan, because otherwise we're going to have, yes, completely.
Right. And it isn't that you don't want to have to go buy clothes somewhere, but typically if I've planned the trip, I have things I want to accomplish. And so I have not factored in, now I'm going to have to go find a raincoat because I didn't pack one.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm an overpacker too. I do have a funny story though, because
Yeah.
I have been on enough trips where my suitcase got lost.
Exactly.
That actually the other thing I overpack is my carry-on. And so because some trips you have to check your suitcase, right? It's just impossible to do it only in a rollerboard. But I have lost my suitcase enough now that I could probably live for 3 days out of my backpack, plus my computer and my iPad and all the other stuff.
There you go.
And so, yeah, so I'm an overpacker.
Okay, well, I've challenged myself to not overpack, but also can I travel with just a backpack and a carry-on luggage suitcase? Because, as we're having, more time to travel as just in this later stage of life,
right?
We're traveling for 2-3 weeks at a time, going to multiple countries or multiple cities. And so, if you're traveling by plane, train, and automobile, if you have 2 suitcases times 2 people, then this gets very complicated. And like you said, increases your risk of losing luggage along the way, or flights are delayed a lot these times. So you want to be able to get out of the airport and get going onto your next destination. So I have challenged myself. So I tried this summer for our trip to pack in one rolling carry-on. So I looked up, I thought I had a plan, right? My plan was a new packing method. Well, new to me anyway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 packing method.
What is this?
This is a capsule wardrobe system of packing. So it is the number of clothing items you should take with you. So 5 tops, 4 bottoms, 3 shoes, 2 dresses, and 1 accessory set. So, and you adjust based on your location. So you're able to throw a jacket in there, so instead of 2 dresses, maybe you're taking 2 jackets. Or, maybe, 4 bottoms might be 2 pairs of shorts and 2 skirts, as an example. So you kind of mix and match just based on where you're going and activities you're doing. And then the thought is also that you can mix and match these pieces. So you might wear a shirt twice with 1 skirt. So you should be able to easily make 10 outfits from this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10 or more different outfits based on the week, and you can not necessarily have to find laundry along the way or wash clothes. Yeah. So I also find that if you have a color palette like my lately color palette is green and beige.
Okay.
And then you mix and match that with black jeans or black pants or whatnot. But
So how did that go? So over the summer you traveled
I did.
and
We were gone for almost 3 weeks, 3 different countries. And yes, I had a plan and I had picked out my clothes. I knew my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I got it in the suitcase and I panicked. I thought there is no way I can make it with just 5 shirts. There's no way I can make it without this extra dress in my thing or a second pair of shoes. So I threw like another 8 pieces into my suitcase and I panicked at the moment. And it turned out after the fact, 3 of those pieces I never wore or utilized during the trip. Stick with the plan, people. But I have found out, in addition to, so I'm going to challenge myself. So I'm going to keep, as we talked about, repetition is important,
right.
And we're going to get there. But I do find certain items were useful as this capsule wardrobe. One of them is a pair of shoes that can go from casual walking during the day, maybe even, not technical, not difficult hiking, but basic hiking, but shoes that are also nice enough that you can pair along with your skirt or your dress for that evening. So I found a couple good shoes that work well with that. Also, a sweater that can layer on as a jacket and or be a top for one of the days. A friend of mine highly recommended dry fit shirts. She says they're super easy to wash in the sink of a hotel room and they dry quickly by the next day. So that is the next thing I'm looking into. So what items have worked for you?
So I overpacker just like you. I have never heard the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's a really interesting concept. I try to match things up and think through like what I can rewear and things like that. And so shirts are definitely one of the things that I pack more of, for sure. But I have found it's a wool blend type top that's supposed to be great for travel. Unbound Merino is one brand and the other brand escapes me just now. And so I bought one of those like in a tank, like sleeveless shirt and packed that. And so it works great for just to wear by itself if it's hot or to layer a sweater over it. And I can wash it in the sink and hang it up to dry. And so I look for things that don't wrinkle.
Yes.
And so I have a lot of things like that. And then shoes. So for me, weight is the other thing, because if you're going to be dragging your suitcase around, right, you have like some airlines have even restrictions, right, on how much your carry-on bag can weigh.
Yes.
I also have looked to find some shoes just like you that can go kind of from day to night or dress up and dress down. Swabs is one of my new late favorites.
Oh, good. Yeah.
That we'll link to those. And so, I have no relationship with them, but they have just been really comfortable and they got me all around Portugal and Thailand recently. And so and they're super light. And so they don't add a lot of extra weight to the bag.
Yeah, I realized I have to find a pair of shoes that can double for hiking as well as working out like in the gym. So if we're at a hotel resort or whatever and you want to go do some more running on the treadmill or something, I need shoes that can kind of cover both areas, because otherwise it takes up too much room to pack.
Right. And shoes are the worst from a bulk perspective in using that carry-on.
Well, our last point of the day is that I've discovered in this, late in life kind of travel, a packing list is essential. I cannot tell you over the last couple of years how many things I've forgotten to pack. And when I was a mom of a family and trying to manage multiple people traveling, I was religiously using a packing list to make sure between all of us, we didn't forget or have to run to the store to buy, an umbrella or whatever it was. So anyway, I have realized that packing list as a family is not really, I stopped using it because it wasn't relevant to my new style of traveling. So yes, I am going to share my packing list with our listeners today.
Nice.
So we will link it on our website, twosaltywomen.com, to see what our current packing list is. But I thought we could talk about some of our travel essentials outside of clothing items.
That's a great idea. And I'm happy to add some things to your packing list of things that I think about as well, because I have developed kind of a mental checklist, right?
Yes.
And so I would love to add some things to your list.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Well, the number one thing I've discovered in the last couple of years, especially for those long haul flights, flights longer than 4 or 5 hours, compression socks. So I have in my hand my favorite pair of compression socks, favorite color too. I love pink. By Comrade is my current brand that I'm using these days for compression socks. I feel so much more energized and whatnot when I wear compression socks on those long flights.
Nice, nice. I have not found a compression sock that I find comfortable enough to wear on a long haul flight. And so you like these?
I like them. We'll have to get you a pair and then you'll let me know.
And then, And so I have some Wello ones that I have enjoyed. So they have been the closest to one that I like.
There you go.
But those are thinner. And so
yes, these are super tight, but they're not thick, and they are thin, and they're super easy to get on and off for a flight.
Interesting.
And cute colors too. So if you are worried about people seeing your compression socks, trendy, cute socks are trendy these days.
They are.
I've also found out on those long haul flights, I have to use a nasal spray because I found, even though they've done a lot better job on the airlines to purify the air, it's still very stuffy and whatnot. So I have found that a nasal spray helps me. And then I love a facial essence. So I have in my hand a small bottle of my favorite brand, Pink Drink by Sunday Riley. But it just really helps you feel refreshed. If you can't get to a sink to wash your face, or, have access to an airport lounge to take a shower, I find that the facial essence, because, flights can be very dry.
Yes.
So that is my favorite thing.
That is a great one. So I totally agree that just the ability, I had one, I don't even remember the brand, but I throw it in. And so just to be able to spray it on my face makes me feel much better and alive.
There you go. Yeah.
And so I've said that I live I pack so that I can live out of my suitcase. And so in case if my big suitcase got lost. But a lot of challenges with going through security and whatnot is all your liquids have to fit in a baggy thing, which is
so annoying.
A nightmare. So one of the things that I found that I love is I have it's a clear plastic zipper bag, but it meets the requirements of the quart size bag. And so first of all, you don't go through all those plastic bags, which is not good for the environment. And but I can also, to me, it's sort of like my go bag. And so I have everything in here. And so I have just like small ones that I always keep stocked in here for when I travel. And so, for example, when I was coming up to stay with you, I really just grabbed this and I never even looked in it. Because it's my go bag. And so it's perfect and I have a facial spray in here too. And so it's perfect for not having to do the whole quart size bag and this and that. And I have travel size things that I can.
Besides your bag being zippered, I love because it has a square edge bottom to it, which, everybody knows on Ziploc bags, when you have bottles or, eye cream or whatnot, it takes up too much room and then you can't fit a lot of things in those Ziploc bags.
Because they don't have a flat bottom.
Exactly.
And then the other thing that I brought is, so I have long hair. Right. But I don't like spending a lot of time on my hair, but it just doesn't it doesn't look this way by itself. And so, and so one of the things that I found, because it's all about space, if you're trying to only have your carry-on and your backpack, is you can't have things that take up a lot of space. And so curling irons and curling brushes and all of that nonsense just take up too much space. But I have the world's tiniest curling iron.
It is pretty small. Looks like it can fit in the palm of your hand.
And so it absolutely fits in the palm of my hand. And I ordered it on Amazon and I love it. And so
That's
it is made
amazing.
for travel, and so it works as a curling iron. I've used it to even take wrinkles out of clothes if
Oh,
I
like a
didn't.
steamer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I've
An
used
iron.
it in
There you go.
other ways, but it does not take up much room. And if I'm not putting my hair up in a ponytail for the day or clipping it on the back of
I
my
love it.
head, I can just use that and not have to worry about a whole bunch of tools
I
and
love it.
all of that.
Yes. The last thing, if I have room in my carry-on travel bags, I try to bring a few snacks, especially for the flights, because I found through the years that I have bad habits of, you know, buying chocolate at the gate, you
Mhm.
know, and so it doesn't help, you know, later in life. So I really make sure that I have some dried nuts or just nuts, a variety of nuts and dried fruit on hand. Also, if you're going to buy something at the convenience store, really highly recommend popcorn because that is high fiber, very nutritious, usually lower calories as long as you're not getting the chocolate covered popcorn. That is right.
Well,
So,
and especially on flights these days, you never know
right, the
whether they're going
delays,
to give you a
exactly.
snack, the delays, what
Yeah.
it's all going to look like.
Yeah.
Even just some long flights in the States that you can take, right? Are you may get water, you may
Right.
not get
Exactly.
anything,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I think it's important. I always take my water bottle.
Yeah.
So I take a refillable water bottle.
Yes.
And that's the
Mhm.
other thing. So besides snacks, is I always have my refillable water bottle
Yes.
with me. And
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
way,
Staying hydrated is important on traveling.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So as we wrap up these travel tips and thoughts into our next chapter of life, I hope you heard something that can improve your travels. And if not, if you have a tip to share with us and our other listeners, we encourage you to, comment on one of our posts or on our website. And so we can share it with our listeners. But today's quick tips and bites include communicating with your significant other to find a good balance on your travel schedule. But on that note, don't be afraid to travel by yourself. I have done that a couple of times. Find a good packing system, such as the 5-4-3-2-1 wardrobe capsule plan to limit your luggage to a carry-on, and then create a good solid packing list with your favorite essential travel items so that you don't forget a thing and have to run to the local pharmacy to pick something up. But most importantly, please remember to enjoy the spontaneity of this travel time in our lives to adapt travel to the way it works for you. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think these are good tips, even if you're not getting on a plane, right?
exactly.
I think,
Yeah.
if you're getting in the car to go somewhere, just thinking through, because I think it's tempting, right, to not think as much if you're just getting in the car, if you can
Yeah.
just throw the bag in. But I think these tips apply whether you're getting on a plane to go to the other side of the world or you're getting in the car to drive to Colorado.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Stacy, what tip do you have cooking for us today in our kitchen?
You had such great practical tips that I was really struggling with where to add on. And so I thought I would share a technology tip.
Yeah, of course.
Because, well, it's me.
Yeah.
And I recently used technology to help plan one of my trips. And so I just wanted to throw this out there because I found it to be super helpful. And so I want to talk just a little bit about ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And using AI and AI tools. So, ChatGPT isn't the only tool out there, whether it's Gemini or Claude or any other, but I used ChatGPT, so I'll just use that one as an example. But we were headed to Portugal.
Yeah.
And I knew that we only had a certain number of days to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into ChatGPT and I just said, hey, you are an expert travel planner and you're going to help me plan this trip. I have 5 days and these are the 2 cities I want to be in. What are the top 3 things I need to do and how would you plan my trip?
Fascinating.
And so then it spit out recommendations, and it recommended the order to do them in because of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so then once you start that conversation, then it really can become a conversation. If you think about it as me talking to you
Yes.
versus, oh, it's not like Googling something anymore, you
Right.
know? And so then you start it as a conversation and you're like, oh, those are great ideas, but I was hoping that I could fit in a cooking class,
Exactly.
or that I could fit in this specific restaurant, or how could I do that?
Yeah.
And then it would also offer a recommendation of how to do that.
Yeah.
And so it can cut down dramatically. So what I just described, right? I got that feedback. So in 5 minutes, the amount of time I would have spent just trying to think through,
Or just
where to
finding your
start.
own research into, logging into TripAdvisor or, Travelocity or any other website out there to find all of the activities, or reading a book from Lonely Planet takes time.
Wasn't perfect, right? And I know me better than it knows me, of
Right.
course, right? And so, but it gave me a great place to start. And then the other place I go when I'm planning a trip is Viator. And so I go to Viator because it's kind of this online clearinghouse
Okay.
of activities within an area. And so I can type in, Lisbon, Portugal, and it'll say, are you looking for day trips or, super water sports or activities or whatever. And then I sort by likely to sell out, because that means that they are very popular activities. And then I look to see what those are, just to give me ideas if it's a new area that I've never been to.
Yeah.
And so I combine that with my ChatGPT and start planning away.
Sounds like you had a perfect itinerary to go. Well, thanks for offering that tip for us. And we want to thank you for joining us on today's episode of Dash of Salt. I'm Sharon Malway, along with my good friend Stacy McCracken, your host from Two Salty Women. So we hope you continue to season your life with purpose, passion, and a pinch of playfulness.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't yet, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and keep tuning in. Check out some of our past episodes, and we have another one coming up, and we look forward to sharing it with you. You can also go to twosaltywomen.com for more insights, more content, and more ways to connect with Sharon and I. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great one.
Till next time.